I am Optimus Prime. Autobots, transform and roll out!
What did he say his name was?
This is bad comedy.
It's Morphin time!
Mastodon!
Pterodactyl!
Triceratops!
Saber-tooth tiger!
Tyrannosaurus! Okay, Power Rangers, let's do it!
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the Hun Ya Geek podcast from CaliCo Productions. I am your wonderful host, Calista Valentine, and joining me as co-host for this wonderful first episode is the wonderful Simon Hodgkiss Rogers.
Evening all.
Our youth Uncle Albert, as we like to refer to him.
During the war.
It's uncanny. It's uncanny. You. If they ever did a prequel, you should play Uncle Albert. Seriously.
Beard, innit?
It is. It's the beard. It's the beard. You just need the cap.
Yeah. I'll go on that says Nintendo on it.
Right, but anyway, introducing our podcast. Basically, what we're going to cover on this show is going to be anything geeky. We're going to talk about shows we've watched on things like Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon Prime. I don't have Prime, so we won't be talking too much about those. But anyway,
there is a new show actually on. Just to interject, there is a new show that I've just watched on Prime that you would like. So I'll talk about that in a bit.
Yes, well, that's a subject as we go along. But yeah, it's going to be anything geeky, like I said, shows, action figures, comic books, Comic Cons. We may even cover like some like fashion, like geek chic, shall we say? As he shows off his ghost shirts, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so that's basically what we're all going to be about. I do have some other co-hosts waiting in the wings. They unfortunately can't join me for this episode, but anyway, they'll join us next time. So anyway, jumping straight into it, we are going to talk about Moon Knight. So then, I judge by that reaction where you double face palm. What is your thoughts on the show?
I'm not loving it. I'm not hating it. Don't get me wrong, but like just to bring it back, stuff like Mando and whatnot, and like WandaVision, I have absolutely loved, like being really invested in.
Yeah,
this
WandaVision, I love.
Just not.
Absolutely love
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed that right from the very first episode. I sat there because we watched it as each one unfolded each week.
Yeah,
and like a lot of my friends were like, "I don't like it. It's black and white," and I'm like, "I'm loving it." Like,
give it a chance.
I don't know what's coming, and yeah, it was just really. It was kitschy, I suppose.
Yeah,
and that made me just love it more.
See,
and like Mando, that's the thing. And,
interjecting there with I think the whole black and white thing, I think if it's done right, can be very, very powerful. And I say that because one of my all-time favorite films, and again, this is a little left field for me, is The Elephant Man with John Hurt.
I love that movie. Yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw it, I caught like the very arse end of it on like Channel 4 one afternoon.
BBC Two.
My dad was watching it, and I was like, how old's this film? Because it was black and white,
Yeah.
My childhood brain just assumes black and white means it's fucking old.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in the 90s, black and white shows then were like from the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
Beverly Hillbillies, Addams Family, things like that. Just where your brain went. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, it came out like mid 80s." He says, back about the same age as you, actually. And I was like, Hey? And then I rented it from a video store, watched it repeatedly, and I fell in love with it. Not just because of the subject, but because the black and white just set the tone.
It's beautifully.
And I think it was almost with WandaVision, it was almost the flip side of that, where there's all this zany, weird stuff happening.
Oh, yeah.
But there's no color or anything to it. And you're like, this is uneasy, but it's going.
I was a huge fan of like Bewitched and I Love Lucy and the shows like that.
Proper vibes from those.
They started in black and white, of course.
Yes, they did.
And so I instantly fell in love with WandaVision because I'd watched those shows so much as a kid. Yeah. It was my grandma that used to watch them actually, but I was there and they were funny, like the adults laughing, the kid's going to laugh, aren't they? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it's a little kid. And so I fell in love with them too.
But yeah, Moon Knight, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. So far, for me, Moon Knight feels like they're trying to do the whole big movie vibe, but it hasn't quite, like the direction in the first episode really didn't get it for me.
I felt it was
the
very,
scores.
Episode 1 I felt was a little on the slow side, and the fact that
it wasn't that it was on the slow side. The score wasn't set right for starters. So you've got a couple of scenes where he's seeing like this big jackal creature that's following him, and he jumps out at him across the museum, and the score does nothing. It's flat, and it was like, okay, that should bump up there. It should like make it not necessarily be a jump scare or anything, but it should. The tension should. Yeah.
Those beats tell you when you should be like.
Yeah, there was no tension to the scene at all, and it was just like you didn't really care when like this thing's coming through the museum after him and such. And I was like, okay, I can forgive it, but you know,
I will say my one standout scene for that, and it did get an actual LOL from me, like a probably like I actually belly laughed at it, was the bit when he wakes up in the town, and he's in that crowd of people, and I think it's Ethan Hawke's character. Does the thing, and they all start bowing down, and he's just kind of standing there, hands in his pocket, looks around, goes bollocks, and ducks down. I burst out laughing, and my daughter sat with me, went, "That was so British." I was just like, do you know what? She's not wrong. Like, you actually like, you'll see like British people, if a crowd slowly ducks down, they all go. If you're the last person to get it, you'll do it.
That's the one thing that I've got to give it credit for, actually, that other people have picked apart. Everyone's going on about his accent in it, saying, and I don't get why, because it's actually a very realistic British accent. Yeah, it's not the typical American British accent that you have on TV shows.
That works. I think the quirkiness that comes through in the accent works with the character, because he's this. From the very beginning of episode 1, like all you know about him is he chains himself to his bed. He's obsessed with Egyptology. He's a little bit nervous and a bit shy and a little bit. It almost reminds me of, and my daughter agreed with me when I showed her some clips. It's almost Joe Pasquale. Yeah. You know, he's got that almost sort of squeaking. I'm not so sure of myself kind of tone to him, and
that's what I mean.
It
and
really does come across, and I think it's quite believable. But
exactly, like as a British person, I'd say it's believable.
Yes,
but American people on the internet are going, "That's not an English accent," and you're like, "Actually, because that's very close to an English accent." You know, like just because you only heard one.
To most Americans, right? There's 2 British accents to American people. There's oh, good morning, and hello, my name is Calista. Yeah. I'm pleased to meet you. Or the other one is, all right, I'm Callie. You know what I mean? To Americans, there's 2 accents, and that's it. But on the flip side, I mean, we mostly have 2 American accents. It's either, you know, redneck Texan kind of, you know, my mother's my sister kind of tone. Or, you know, you sound almost Canadian. You know, so stereotypes. Thank you very much.
It just bugged me that people are picking apart the show for that. When I'm like, no, there's legitimate stuff that isn't quite as good that people aren't picking apart, but the accent bit, they've got a problem with that. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But yeah, I'm watching it and okay, I'm enjoying it enough to keep watching it, but I'm not enjoying it enough to go, I need to see that right now, you know? That's been the case for all the rest of the stuff so far. So
yeah, I mean,
now, I don't follow the comics either, just to put that in there. Like, I've read, I think, 4 graphic novels that have had Moon Knight appear, and that's about it. It's not my character. I've
actually got kind of a weird little story about this. After we watched the first episode, my daughter turns to me and she goes, "So what do you know about Moon Knight from the comics?" And I just looked and went, piss all. To be honest, my only interaction as a fan of comic books with Moon Knight, and this is kind of a deep cut reference, and hopefully you know this one being a gamer, is the game Spider-Man Web of Shadows that was on the PS3 and Xbox 360. I
think it was on the Wii as well.
Yeah, but it was like a downgraded, but yeah. And if memory serves, Moon Knight pops up as like a side support character, like you do missions for him very early on in the game.
You have to go and find him off on like a free roam type of shit, don't you?
And literally the only thing I knew about the character at that point was that he worked for the moon god Khonshu as like a almost like a spirit of vengeance kind of thing. I was like, so I just went, so it's Ghost Rider without the fire.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't until much, much later on, and I mean like 2010, 2013 kind of time, like within that kind of time frame, I was watching like backstories of characters on YouTube. Like there was people putting out videos of like origins of this character, origins of that character. And because I knew the character from the game, when that one popped up, I was like, I'll give it a watch. Why not? And I watched it, and it kind of gave a brief history of the character. And when it talked about like the multiple personalities, and that's why there's different versions of the same character, I was like, oh, okay, well, I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea of that. But then, and it's the one thing in the show that I think is, it's been very weirdly handled in the show. Like, I love the fact that it sticks with one personality, so you don't see the fight scenes, because obviously they're not taking part in that fight scene. So they're literally like cowering about to get hit. The next thing they know, they're surrounded by broken bodies and their hands are covered in blood. They're like, what happened? Like, I like the way that it does the jump cut and doesn't show you the action, because you're sharing in the character's confusion. I like that about the show. Like, you would sat there for the first part going, if he doesn't know what's going on in this, how am I meant to know? Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. And I think that was intentional, though. I think they meant.
Oh, absolutely.
And if that's the case, it fucking worked, and I loved it. Episode 2, though, it's a lot of setup with not much payoff going into episode 3, unfortunately. I mean, I liked episode 3, but
not seen that one yet.
I know, I'm not going to spoil anything for you.
Thank you.
There are some scenes. It's more exposition dump than anything else. Episode 3. It's like, so why is this thing here? Oh well, you see, that's because. Yeah.
But they had a scene like that in episode 2, I think it was, where they were having a phone call that was just exposition dump, and I was like, exposition much to Laura and my other half, and it was like, yeah, that wasn't great. It's doing that a lot. I actually, it's fair enough. It's a character that's really not known, so you can understand it like a bit, but you need to handle it in a less cheesy way, in my opinion.
My daughter actually commented about the Scarab, and she's picked this up from me making jokes when playing video games, and they talk about a certain object in the game that's going to be a major key piece, and just kind of gets forgotten about in the last act of the game. Like, you don't need it for the final boss. It was actually a bullshit MacGuffin. Yeah. You know, and when the Scarab first starts getting talked about, my daughter just goes, "Oh, look, plot device 101." And I was like, you're only 13. You're too young to be that cynical. That's right. Believe in the magic of Disney, Cassie. You know, you're young enough to enjoy it.
Never too young for cynicism.
Well, this is the kid at 3 years old when I said, what's Christmas? Thinking she'd say exciting, and she turned around and said, bollocks. Yeah, she had Christmas figured out way before I did. So, but yeah, so that's kind of our little thoughts on Moon Knight. I think it's going well.
Yeah, it's got potential.
It needs to pick up its pace if it's going to keep fans' attention, because, like you said, episode 2, there's quite a lot of exposition. Episode 3, there's even fucking more. Okay, it's broken up with some very, very good action sequences. I will say that. There are some brilliant scenes in it. There's even some scenes where he switches between personalities during the fight, and the costume switches with it, and it shows that, and it's very well done. But at the same time, it's like, shouldn't this be like the big moment of the show? And
exactly.
It's more of like, they go to do the exposition thing, and the fight happens because of the exposition, and then straight after the fight, there's exposition about the exposition that they've just been expositioning. At the end of it, going like, just, you know what to do. It's easy to do it. Just do it. Like
that was my thoughts on it.
And say, get a move on.
I mean, people complained about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, I loved that. I loved that show. It was
meant to be a slow burn, that one. It was meant to tell a powerful story, especially the final episode.
And the thing is, I mean, I was really happy. I was really happy with that one because one of my favourite UFC fighters, Georges St. Pierre, he's in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and he makes the appearance as the bad guy in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Backtrack, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, I know my background shit. I watch special features on Blu-rays. Thank you.
Yeah, Georges St. Pierre. He's a French Canadian or French fighter. I can't remember which now because I just like watching him fight. And like he's fantastic, and it gave a lot of credibility to the show having someone that could actually do moves without having to get a stunt guy in and out. You know, it did a lot for it, and I was like, if they can do that, there's no reason that they can't either use stuntmen to do parts as long as the stuntman can act, or get someone that is capable. And it lends credibility to the roles.
I'm laughing because it's funny you saying that. I recently picked up Spider-Man No Way Home on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So I watched the special features, and it's got like a stunt thing, like behind the scenes and all this kind of stuff. And you've got a wonderful bit with the wonderful Alfred Molina, and he's talking about his fight with Spider-Man. And he said it was wonderfully freeing not having to have these mechanical arms on him on set, and the fact that they could do it all CG. He said, but then the one downside is you look at like Willem's fight with Tom, as in, characters, and he says, they're doing these punches and these flips, and they're beating the crap out of each other. And even when I'm fighting Tom, he's there doing all these flips and jumps, and he's coming off all these cars and everything, and then I'm there just going. He said it was a little bit demoralizing, You're just there, like he said, it looks great when you see it on screen now, but when I was filming it, I'm just there going every so often, just throwing a shoulder at him, maybe dodging a little bit. It's just like,
bless. I love that movie. To be fair, like these have been my favourites. Spider-Man is one of my favourite characters in Marvel. Yeah. Again, loved him from a young age. And the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, I was like, Tobey Maguire. I was like, okay, yeah, it's good, but it's not quite there for me.
I enjoyed it.
Then they brought out The Amazing Spider-Man came out, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's good, but it's not. There's something not there for me. And then they brought out a Tom Holland one, and I was like, this is it.
Oh yeah, have you seen No Way Home?
Yeah, I bought it the day it came out. The full 4K Dolby Vision with the Dolby Atmos going, and like, oh yeah.
Well, actually, I suppose now we're mentioning it, let's talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. It's been out for a while now, so I think we're way past the spoiler embargo. We won't get done for spoilers. If you've not seen it by now, the only question should be why? Why haven't you?
Yeah. Once it's got home release, it's kind of fair game. Don't get me wrong, I don't think there should be spoilers when it's still cinematic release, in theaters.
Oh, but no. I mean, like
home release, but you can understand it a bit.
Well, I mean, that was always my plan. Is like, if I'm going to talk about it, I'll wait until it's out on Blu-ray, because then if people haven't seen it by then, it's by choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
so
I used to review for a company. I won't mention their name, but they're a pretty well-known company that they pay for reviews, like they pay per article. And I'd done a couple of articles for them, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens had come out. Now, as you know, me being in a wheelchair, it's not the easiest for me to get to the cinema and whatnot.
It's not easy for you now.
Exactly. So it's not release day that I'm typically going to be going, because it's going to be jam-packed. It's going to be a nightmare. And I was looking to go, I think it was the second week that it was out. I think it was the Monday that I was meant to be going. And like reading on their site, and actually I wasn't even reading on their site. I got onto Facebook and they put a post on. And in this post, they put a huge spread with photo of Han Solo getting killed.
Oh.
And it was like... And,
that's nice of them.
This was on the Saturday, so it had been out 1 week and 1 day at the cinema.
Yeah.
And they put the photo of Han Solo getting through the heart. And I was like, what the heck are you doing? And their reply was, if you haven't seen it by now, you're obviously not a fan. It's been out 1 week.
Dick
1
move.
week.
Fuck
And I was
you.
like, excuse you, but me and a lot of people haven't necessarily either got the money to go on day one,
Hell no.
or like with me and a lot of people, we've got health conditions or work or family commitments. You can't necessarily rush to see a movie on day one, you know, like
exactly.
give it a little bit longer than a fucking week
when I went to the
before
cinema,
putting spoilers blatantly on the website, but also on Facebook.
Exactly. You've got to be so careful this day and age.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I was like, I'm not reviewing for a company like you ever again.
I
don't want to know.
But,
don't care how much you're paying me. And they were sending me like Blu-ray box sets through the post before they were out at the shops and everything to review. And I was just like, I'm not doing it.
But you talking about people not affording it, and I can definitely vouch for that, right? Me and my daughter, as a New Year's treat, we went to see Spider-Man: No Way Home at the cinema. First time I'd been to the cinema since the first Avengers film. Yeah. You know, so it'd been a while for me, and it was something we both really wanted to see. So I was like, yeah, New Year treat, me and her. To get in, and with a large drink to share, it came to just under £30.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't sound too bad, right? £30. But when you consider that's for 2 people and a drink.
Yeah, exactly.
And okay, most families now have got, say, 3 to 4 children at a minimum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So at least 2 kids, you know?
Yeah. So if say a family of 6, right, want to go to the cinema, right, you're looking at well over £100.
Yeah, yeah.
Just for a night out to sit and watch a film.
And that's not with travel.
Yeah, and that's not with travel, like petrol money or public transport or whatever.
Exactly.
So, you know, I think that as nice as it is seeing a film in a cinema, it's not 30 quid's worth of nice.
No.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's why, I mean, for years, I've always upgraded my home cinema. Yeah. And I've like just, I mean, you've seen my home cinema. I exactly. I put a lot of money into it, but I get a better experience than you get at the actual cinema.
Because, you don't get people coughing and walking in front of you. And
not just that, but the actual picture quality is better. You know what I mean? Like when you've got a screen this big that's 4K, and it's the OLED, it's like, you get a better experience than you get at the cinema.
I mean, I know I came around to yours that one time and watched The Predator for the first time, and it was like it was better than being in the cinema because the sound wasn't cluttered by other people laughing, coughing, whatever. There was no rustling of bags. It was literally just me, you, Laura, you know, sat there watching the film in all that glory, and it was just like, this is better than the cinema.
You can relax more, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to enjoy a movie.
And plus, when you're at home as well, if anything comes up, you've got that pause button. If you get if you're in the cinema, okay, even in the cinema, you put your phone on silent. But, you know, for instance, if you get an emergency call, you've got to leave.
That's it.
That's the end of the film. You know, at least if you're watching it at home, you can stop and off you pop. But anyway, back to talking about the film itself. I picked my copy up in HMV. I know I am not sponsored. I'm just showing it off. There's the wonderful cover artwork. And if you get it on Blu-ray, you actually get a free poster.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a nice thick card one. It's not like a paper one.
So it's more of a print than a poster.
Yeah, but it's still wonderfully nice.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I've actually ended up watching it twice. Since getting it. I got it like last Monday. I watched it Monday night and Tuesday. But I was mainly kind of watching and spotting for like little Easter eggs and things like that, you know.
Yes.
Best thing to do with the Marvel film is to pick it apart and see the Easter eggs. And with it being Easter, perfect fucking time to do it. And the one I did spot, and I don't know if anybody else noticed this, it's the bit where, spoiler alert time, Charlie Cox's Daredevil shows up. And it's the bit where the brick comes through the window.
Brick?
Well, the thing that's got the...
I say that it is a brick, but when they were originally making the movie, it's a snow globe. So if you look, everybody's hand is round when they catch it, and when Spider-Man's going to hold it, he makes a round shape. It's because it was actually a snow globe.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a brick in the movie. They changed it, but it was meant to be a snow globe because of Mysterio and all that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, a little bit of geek knowledge for you there. Not many people would probably know that. I didn't fucking know that. But anyway, yeah, when the brick comes through, and I don't know how many people have noticed this, but yeah, I get Daredevil catches it. But the one thing I didn't spot on my first viewing, and I'm talking about first viewings, like if people caught this on the first viewing.
Yeah.
You see, boom, Daredevil catches it. But the one thing I didn't notice until I watched it again at home was he actually got his hand up to catch it before Peter did.
Yeah.
You see that Peter's hand comes up a split second after. So it's like, hold on a fucking minute. Does that mean that Daredevil senses is actually faster in this universe than Spider-Man?
To be fair, I think Kevin Smith, for those that don't know, Kevin Smith, the guy that wrote Mallrats and he wrote Daredevil in the comics for a very long time. Some of the best issues were written by Kevin Smith. And yeah, his Daredevil can kick Spider-Man's, but pretty much he's bigger, faster, stronger. And yeah, his reactions are actually better than Spider-Man's in that universe.
I did not notice it on first viewing. Like my eye obviously went focused onto him catching it, and I didn't even notice that Spidey got his hand up. Like you saw, if you slow motion,
you do see him go like
hands move almost in unison. Daredevil's just a split second. Like Spidey's hands here, his is like here. It's just, and it just blew my mind. I was like, shit, that's a nice little.
Awesome, that isn't it?
Nice little touch.
I was really happy that they brought Daredevil into it for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
The main being the Punisher.
Yes.
That's what that said to me. I was like, that means.
Yeah, because if Charlie Cox's Daredevil is in the MCU, that means Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Punisher are all in the MCU officially now, unless, and my daughter pointed this out, and I went, shit, I didn't think of that.
They could retcon it.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, exactly.
There could be a massive retcon.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, and also given the fact that everybody's forgot who Spidey is, well, they've forgotten who Peter Parker is at this point, not who Spider-Man is. Does that mean that Charlie Cox has no longer met Peter Parker? And if that's the case, that means that they could potentially be written out.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want that to be the case. I mean, they could go either way with it, but I'm hoping and praying, and I know no one from Marvel or Disney is going to watch this show, but please, if you hear me, keep the Punisher. I don't care too much about the rest, but keep the Punisher. The rest can stay as as a bonus, but they're not.
In all honesty, I really love Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I didn't expect to, but sorry, my neighbours are having a massive argument. I do apologise if you heard that smash, but something's just got up against the wall, so I don't know what's going on. But they do this a lot. It's fine. I apologise if that comes through. The Charlie Cox's Daredevil, I didn't expect to love it anywhere near as much as I did. Yeah. And I watched it, and in all honesty, I think I actually preferred it to the Punisher series due to how much it shocked me that I liked it. Like Punisher, I read War Journal as it came out and everything. I love the Punisher, so I knew that it was going to be a hit for me, even if it was a shitty version of it. Like, I love the old Dolph Lundgren version of Punisher and everything because it's the Punisher. So that was a given, whereas this version of Daredevil, I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I watched it, and oh my days,
I kind of agree with what you're saying there, because going into the Punisher series after seeing him in Daredevil season 2, after seeing that, when you go into the Punisher series, you know, if you even know the slightest thing about Punisher, you know that this series is going to be guns, bullets, blood, brutality. You knew that going into the show, that it was going to get brutal, and no matter how brutal it got, you weren't really shocked. You were like, Frank's going full shit, you know, he's going absolutely out of it. But like you said, with the Daredevil show, where he had to become increasingly more aggressive, and the show got darker, and his fight against Fisk became more and more personal and more brutal, to the point where he put on the old costume.
Yeah.
And he beat the ever-loving fuck out of him.
Yeah.
The one thing I can certainly say, and I hope Disney pick the show back up, the one thing that I feel was a bit of a tease is they teased Bullseye with the surgery, like he's all strapped up in that table at the end of season 3. Yeah. And it was just like, you can't tease that and then cancel the show. So I'm hoping they pick it up, because I'd like to see Bullseye be the reason, because he kind of retired at the end of season 3. I'd like to see them bring it back and be, I don't know, 10 years later, and Bullseye's the reason he's come out of retirement.
Exactly.
You know, a classic revenge story, sure, but still, just bring that character back and evolve the story that was started with those shows, because they were good shows. Okay, they were on Netflix and they've swapped and changed channels now, but they were good.
That's what tells me that they'll pick it up, actually, or
they brought it over.
The fact that they've actually bothered to bring them over to Disney, because that's cost them money.
Oh, hell yeah. You know? You got to understand that as a company, they're not going to spend money to bring in a set of shows and then do nothing with it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, sidestepping the geek shit here, but it's weird that I started talking about Disney doing nothing with Gargoyles about 2 or 3 years ago. Then Disney Plus adds Gargoyles to its show listings.
Yeah.
And I even tweeted NECA about this a couple of years back and said, any chance of you guys ever doing Gargoyles figures? And Randy Fogg, the head guy of NECA himself, actually replied to me and said, not a chance. No chance in hell we'll ever do that. Or something to that effect, like, no, we'll never get that done. They're out now.
I know. So
it's like that tells me that if Disney are actually putting money into this property, like paying, you know, getting companies to do the action figures and things like that, it shows that they're testing the waters to see how valuable the property really is.
Exactly.
So, and that's why I'm hoping and praying that they will see the light and we'll finally get a live action Gargoyles movie with motion capture and Keith David reprising his role of Goliath.
It would be nice.
Because
it's actually kind of the other way around. Just wanted to point out, NECA would have paid Disney so that they get the license.
But you know what I mean? The way the license.
But absolutely, I just wanted to clear it up. They sort of pay, but they go, okay, Disney will approach companies and go, do you want to? And the company can go yes or no for the option. And then they go, right, that's going to cost you.
Well, but that's what I mean. Like Disney hadn't done that with Gargoyles for a very long time.
Yeah, exactly.
And then literally, as the show comes back, there was rumors of a live action movie. Then the show comes back onto Disney Plus. Now there's new, fully articulated action figures of the franchise coming out. And for me, as a long-time fan of that franchise, it definitely feels like they're building up to go. It's basically them going, is there money to be made from this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, there is. If there is, you know they're going to do something with it. Whether it's like the X-Men 97 show that they're doing, where it's a continuation of that original 90s series.
Yeah.
I'd love them to do something like that with Gargoyles. Live action movie, new animated series, anything. But the way that they're pushing it now does feel like they're gearing up to do something with it.
Yeah.
You know, very much like they did with Star Wars. They bought it up, and rather than just buy it and then sit on it for years, they bought it and literally straight away were like, we're doing this.
Exactly.
So,
and to be honest, like I know a lot of the geekdom don't like it, but for me, like Force Awakens is one of my favorites because it was one that I got to take my kids to go and see. You know what I mean? So being a kid that went to go and see it and then taking my kids to go and see it, that's instantly like Bond, you know?
Yeah. I completely get that. I mean, I know people now who, you know, we were teenagers when Phantom Menace and all that kind of thing came out.
Yeah, teenagers.
We grew up watching the older Star Wars films. When like episode 1 and stuff were coming out, we were like, it's all right, but it's not my Star Wars.
Yeah.
But then as we've grown up and had kids ourselves, and their first introduction to Star Wars is like, you know, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, the, you know, Phantom Menace, all that kind of stuff. That was the Star Wars stuff they were exposed to at an early age.
Yeah.
So now, as they've grown up, like yourself, and had kids, they're taking kids to see the newer Star Wars films, and it's basically a generational thing. Star Wars has become generational. Each generation will have its own fucking Star Wars to look back on. My daughter, right, doesn't like the older stuff. She's kind of okay with the prequel stuff, but the Disney stuff, she loves it. Absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's just a generational thing. A franchise that's been going nigh on 40 years, which we are going to do a special episode about this kind of thing. To have a certain amount of longevity for 40 fucking years as a franchise. Yeah,
exactly.
And I talked to someone about this very recently.
Stay that relevant.
Yeah, to stay relevant, you've got to. It's almost a case of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
Totally. Sometimes you're going to have flops, Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Then other times,
Phantom Man-ass.
yeah. Or then other times you're going to have a fucking absolute hit. The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's part of the creative process. Not everything is going to be a mega hit. And not everything is going to be an absolute fucking flop.
Exactly.
It's just the way creative world works.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, going slightly off topic, we were talking about Spider-Man. Fucking Greg's. Right. So yeah, I did spot a few that are kind of gone. Is this alluding to something, or is it just a tease?
Yeah.
And it's to do with the very end of the film. It's the rips in the sky, and you see kind of outlines of different familiar-looking characters. And as it points out on the Blu-ray on the special features, there's Kraven the Hunter. There's possibly Scorpion. But one that I saw that it didn't point out, and knowing Disney like we do when they don't point things out, makes you suspicious.
Yeah.
When they want you to notice something, they'll be like, look here, look at that. Yeah. Don't look at this over here. You know, it's usually the hush-hush bits you need to look at. And in the rip in the sky, the one thing that I saw kind of step forward was what looked like the Rhino. But it wasn't the Rhino from the Garfield verse. To me, it looked like the Rhino from the 90s animated show.
Yeah.
And I actually turned to my daughter and I went, do you think they're teasing a revival like they've done with X-Men? Like, it's going to somehow tie with the new Spider-Verse film coming out. They've got the original 90s show. I'm thinking maybe that's a tease to say that into the Spider-Verse, they're going to drop into the other animated shows of Spider-Man that have happened throughout the years, like the 70s, the 80s one, and Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Because I think that would work with it being an animated film, flipping to those different animation styles. And
it makes sense.
Characters in different animation styles. Because that was kind of what the first film had to a certain extent. It had its own little style and its own little flair. It
had a number of styles, didn't it? Like the ones, the Spider-Man that comes through that helps him, the 40-year-old Spider-Man. He's like smooth flow, 24 frames per second, and then Miles is done at 12 frames per second to show that he's not up to speed, you know?
Yeah,
exactly. So it had a lot of that sort of thing already. So yeah, you spot on the money. It makes sense to bring in these alternate versions, and that would, of course, keep it fresh, should we say, for the new movie.
Yeah. And plus, it's a very wink, wink, nod to the legacy that the characters had up to this point. Because, a lot of people, when they talk about Spider-Man within the films, they tend to restrict it to just the Maguire films, the Garfield films, and now the Tom Holland films. But when you look at Spider-Man in the small screen, he's had 4 or 5 animated series. One of them so popular that it's still popular now. The 90s show.
It's more than that even. You've got the 90s one,
which is the most popular, obviously.
I think there's about 8.
Theme tune.
I think there's about 8. You've got one where Neil Patrick Harris played Spider-Man.
The Spectacular Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Yeah, see, so that's I mean.
Not gone on to Disney, bizarrely. That never went on to Disney Plus.
Oh.
And I've been trying to find it everywhere, and you can't find it on any streaming sites now. It's not on.
Everybody watching,
to buy.
Everybody watching, quickly email Disney and say, "Where is this Spider-Man series? The collection is not complete without this one.
We need to see Barney Stinson as Spider-Man."
Yes. Why the hell not?
Exactly. But I think there's 8 series in total of the animated Spider-Man. Maybe 9, because I know they've done like the Spider-Man shorts and stuff that have gone on there, and I'm not sure whether they fit into the last series that came out.
That if they wanted to do that in the next Into the Spider-Verse movie, they could quite easily dip into all the different animation styles. Like, he meets different Spider-Men from each reality, and it's done in that style. And their actual character models flip to match that universe. Yeah. Because then you could see all these different Spider-Men, how they look in each universe as they're traveling through it. Like, it would be a logistical nightmare for the animation department. Don't get me wrong. But
it's not actually too bad.
If they pull it off,
everything's done in layers. So you're literally turning on a layer or turning off a layer. So you get one group of people that will work solely on, say, a noir Spider-Man. One group of people that will work on like Miles Morales, the 12 frames per second. They've got to draw 12 frames.
Yes.
And then you've got the one group of people that will work on the 24 frames per second that have to do 24 in a different style.
All I can say is if they are going to do this, and if this does happen, if this pans out, if my theory is correct, get my tinfoil hat on. I think if they pull it off correctly, it would be a absolute gorgeous animation style and a treat for the eyes with all the different colors, like all those blues and reds and blacks and all the different variations. It would just be so. It wouldn't just be a narrative treat; it would be a visual treat.
Exactly.
You would enjoy the story, and you would. It's one of those films, like a bit like Mad Max, where you can literally turn off the audio and just watch it with the backing music track, and the film still plays out, and you still get what's going on. It could be something like that, but we're just hypothesizing here about future Spider-Man stuff. We'll be here till 2099. Right. Think we should probably wrap shit up about now. But we do want to quickly touch upon the Hasbro Pulse live stream event that happened the other day, the Transformers Power Rangers thing they did.
I've heard good things, didn't see it, unfortunately.
Well, I watched what I wanted to watch of it. I watched the important bits, the figure reveals and things that I was more interested in, because even as a Transformers fan, and I've said this before on the other videos, I'm more of a G1 collector.
Same.
Not so much the figures, but the characters. Like, good old Starscream here. Like a G1 character like this, that's a buy for me. But if it's a deep cut character like they just announced, is it Tarantulas from Beast Wars? Okay.
No, I didn't see that one.
Well, you can watch it when we're finished on here. But
I like that one, actually.
It looks really good. Don't get me wrong. As a collector, I can look at that and go, that is a really nice figure. I'm not going to buy it, though, because I don't really know the character outside of a couple of things in auxiliary media. Sorry, I've got wind.
For me, like, as you know, I do reviews for a few different shows and companies and whatnot. And one of the ones that I got asked to review was Beast Wars a few years back.
Yeah.
And like it became one that I really enjoyed. So I've got, I think, 3 figures from Beast Wars, maybe 4. And none of them are what you call high quality. They're good, they're nice, they're cool, but they're not like, as you know, I've got like all my masterpiece ones and stuff. You wouldn't have them up next to that. So if they could go into like the proper masterpiece line with those, I'd buy those.
They have done a couple of Beast Wars masterpiece figures. They've done
the ones that they have done, I didn't really like.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at some of them and I've gone, okay, I got what they were going for. They were going for the animation model accuracy with that particular masterpiece.
But it doesn't come across as a masterpiece because of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's something about the Beast Wars aesthetic animation that does
absolutely.
But then you look at the mainline Beast Wars that they're doing now as part of it was Earthrise, and then it was Kingdom, and now it's going into Legacy. The Legacy figures are slowly starting to come out. I've only seen a couple in my local toy shop, but I'm skint at the moment, so waiting for payday. So reviews coming soon, especially of this guy. But anyway, the one that I'm looking forward to with Legacy is Motormaster, purely because it's G1 style, and they showed off the way it combines. And the really cool thing is, Drag Strip is already out now, and the figure can actually split in two. If you get like a little pair of tweezers or a screwdriver and push it into this little slot, he pops apart at the waist, and people were like, "Okay, this is probably going to be for the combined mode," but no one can figure out how. In the live stream, it actually shows you that Motormaster's arm stays straight. You clip the car down onto the arm, and there's a little tab that goes in and separates it. So when you bend the elbow, it actually separates the car mode, so you can keep the articulation and make it look more seamless. And I was just like, okay, right. I wasn't really going to go in on the Stunticons. I was just going to get Motormaster because it's a rival for Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
But then when I saw that, I was like,
yeah, that's legit.
shit, I'm buying this now. That's my money for the next year, like, accounted for.
Yeah, I might need that. I mean, my money for the next however many years is accounted for, because of course Hasbro have that Aliens M41A pulse rifle coming out from Nerf, and I've got, I think it's 6 on pre-order, and they're about £100 each, I think it was.
Yeah.
But then they announced the Halo weapons as well, and they're £100 each. And so I've got 4 of those on order, and I'm like,
It's funny that you should mention weapons, because that actually ties us into the Power Rangers reveal during the podcast. Like, it was a live stream that they did. The thing that really kind of made me laugh about it was nearly 2 hours. About an hour and a half of it was Transformers. About half an hour of it was Power Rangers. And I was like, yeah, this is really split show. They've been really fair to Power Rangers here. But there's been a lot of rumble with the fans out there, the communities on social media, that it was like, and I kind of got where they were coming from. It's like, you spent that long talking about Transformers, but next to no time talking about Power Rangers, and the stuff that you did reveal wasn't worth, like, especially if you watched it live just to see the Power Rangers stuff. You sat through it. If you're not a Transformers fan, you are just a Power Rangers fan. You sat there for an hour and a half for essentially 2 reveals, and a few of those we kind of expected. But the one reveal that I did enjoy was the fact that they're now doing the Red Ranger's Power Sword as a cosplay item. You press the button on it and it plays the full Power Rangers theme tune. You press another button on it and then swipe your hand down the blade, and sensors in the blade actually light up along with your hand. So as you drag your hand along, it flashes. And I was just like,
I need that.
I want that. I want that. And it's got a display stand, so it sits at an angle. And I was just like,
I'm only a bit into Power Rangers. Like, some of it I love, and then some of it I just can't stand.
See my love for it right here behind.
Exactly, totally. Yeah, it was one that it came out too late for me. I was about 14 when it hit, and so it was like,
I was 10, 11, so it hit me at just the right age, because I was smack in that demographic of...
You were what, though, and me?
I was pre-teen with attitude, and I like going around punching people made of clay.
I was literally in school and working at 14 for BMW, so it was like I didn't have time to really watch anything. Like, I worked at weekends for BMW, Magneti Marelli, and Honda at the time, and then moved on to Joy Mining, Rolls-Royce, Rover, and Toyota. So I did all the car companies that were in the Midlands. Well, Honda was Swindon, but anyway, yeah. So I didn't ever get to see anything that came out at the time of Power Rangers. It was like about 2 years old, really, when one of my friends sat me down and went, "Watch this, you'll like it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool." But I'm past it now, you know. At that point, I'm 16, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's funky, but I'm not buying into it," you know.
I mean, I think what really helped for me going into Power Rangers, and I've talked about this on, other shows that I've done, but for me, it really helped that I grew up with the sort of families that had any film you could think of, just random films taped on VHS off the TV. And tapes would get swapped and passed around, and you'd borrow, like, one of your friends had mentioned this film that they watched at their parents' recording. You'd be like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Can I borrow it?" And you'd watch it. And so I grew up sort of through the, I don't want to say about 8 up to about 13. I had a friend who was absolutely obsessed with the 60s and 70s Godzilla films, specifically like
I was like that.
Specifically like Destroy All Monsters and Giant Monsters Attack and Godzilla versus Mothra, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. The one made in the 90s where Godzilla is a dinosaur that gets time traveled and it doesn't affect the timeline, but then it does. And then King Ghidorah shows up and then he gets beat and then he shows up as a robot. That one.
I love that one. That was
weirdly enough, I watched that particular one right before I started watching Power Rangers, and going into it, I was like, this is just as cheesy, the giant rubber monsters, as this Godzilla stuff I'm watching, and I fucking love it. I was hooked from day one, and it was one of those shows that as you watched it, like episode 1, if you were a fan of Godzilla, you catch it, you'd be like, yeah, this is my kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then as the stories go on and you get to learn more about the characters, and there are character arcs, you know, if you watch every season,
absolutely,
there's major character arcs that have long fucking payoffs. There's a lot of referencing from like past events to pay shit off, and you know, it just hooks you and pulls you in. And I think that's why people my age who were fans of Power Rangers back then still support it now, and we are the most vocal ones of bring back the originals, as many as you can, because obviously, you know, unfortunately Tui Trang no longer with us, but apparently I've been hearing rumors on social media that Billy is actually coming back to Power Rangers, which has been a long fucking time coming, and hopefully that will lead into more original Power Rangers stuff with the original team, because apparently David Jost has wanted to do like a continuation or, you know, something with the original Power Rangers for a very, very long time.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he's just never been able to get it off the ground. And everyone's thinking that now he's back on with the new stuff that's going on with Netflix. And it's Hasbro doing all new footage. They're no longer using Sentai footage. It's all original footage from now on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a lot of fans are hoping that with David Jost coming in to do this, it's going to lead to Netflix letting him do his Power Rangers thing he wanted to do, which I think is Power Rangers Quantum Continuum or something like that. It's something along those lines. It's on his Instagram. Check it out. But
I will do. I got my son heavily into Power Rangers. Like I said, I wasn't massively into it, but I liked it a bit, and I was like, my son needed to sit down and watch it, in my opinion. Put it on, and he loves it. So something like that, he'd be really into. Yeah,
definitely. We'll definitely check it out on Instagram. David Jost, all on there on his Instagram and everything. Definitely check it out. It's worth looking into.
I was about to go and look for my phone.
You're on your phone, you pillock. Oh, and it's at this point where delirium sets in.
Absolutely.
But so that was pretty much it from the Hasbro Pulse live stream event. There was lots of Transformers news. I'm looking forward to it. A lot that's going to hurt my purse strings in the coming years. It is called Legacy, so there is a lot of legacy characters coming back. They announced a Blitzwing, robot mode, amazing, tank mode, good, jet mode. Have you ever looked at a bumblebee and wondered how the fuck can you fly? That's what this jet mode, the vibes this jet mode gives off. It's basically a plane strapped on top of a tank that's been flattened. You can see like the treads and everything just hanging out. Yeah. And it's just like, I looked at it and went, if I bought you, you are staying in robot mode. Permanently. Yeah. Like it's one of those, like, but with a triple changer, you know, there's always one mode that's going to be.
There's always one mode that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, basically. I've got Skylinks over there, and it's kind of got like 3 or 4 modes. It's got the 2 separate modes: the combined mode, the beast mode, then it's got a base mode. Mm-hmm. Now, the separate modes, the Lynx tigery cat thing works brilliantly. The chicken walkery space shuttle mode. Not so much, just because there's so many joints in the legs that if one of them goes wrong, it just gives up. When it's in its combined full mode where it is Skylinks, it's fully transformed, brilliant, absolutely brilliant mode. The base mode lets it down because you've got to tab everything in. It's not super secure. And if you put it up on a shelf or anything like slightest knock, that shuttle's going to come off. And it's like, you expect it when it's got that many modes packed into it, one of them's going to suffer. Yeah. And you can see that with Blitzwing. It's like robot mode, brilliant. Tank mode, brilliant. Jet mode, it's a jet. I don't know how that flies.
Just because it's got jets doesn't mean it is a jet.
It's a jet with a weight problem.
Yeah.
Literally, it's a jet on donuts. But no, like I said, the Motor Master for me was and apparently from what I've seen on Twitter, for most of the internet that's Transformers fans, when we saw Motor Master fully transformed, because we'd only seen the box art up to the reveal. The reveal was the live stream. And seeing it was just like, oh, that's a Motor Master. The purples, the blacks, the modes. It's got a base mode, but looking at the base mode, it's like you could take it or leave it. Like you could have it in that mode and it would look good in a display. If it's like with other Decepticons and it's fighting, like if you've got the other Stunticons with it and it looks like a battalion kind of thing going on. Yeah, it looks like an entrenchment. It looks cool. It would work. But if you never put it in that mode, no one's going to hate you for it. You know what I mean? And then the combined mode to make Menasor, I mean, just it looks so good. But yeah, I keep saying we're going to wrap shit up, and then we keep waffling on for another 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I haven't had my little timer thing kick in saying you're running out of time, bitch. But yeah, it's nearly 10 o'clock. It's getting late for me, and I was out drinking last night, so I'm a little bit worse for wear.
I'm also like 75% through Resi 2 at the minute on the PS5. I'm playing the PS4 version before the PS5 version comes out again.
Yeah.
And I've
got to do a comparison, haven't you?
Complete that tonight. Yeah.
You've got to compare.
Exactly.
You've got to see if Leon's hair is just quite as shiny in the new one compared to the old one.
It's the dual sense for me with PS5 remasters. Like when they add the dual sense, and Capcom seem to, it just adds so much to it. And like Resident Evil is probably pretty much my favorite game franchise. Actually, anyway.
That is one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I noticed this the other day. I was playing something on my PlayStation. Life of me can't remember what game it was. But because you were talking about the feedback on the new pads, how that it kind of like moves and things like that to get a sense of that. I think to a certain extent, they've done almost like a little bit of backwards compatibility with this kind of thing. I don't quite know if that's the right terminology, but I've noticed on certain PlayStation games, and it's ones I've played before and it's never done it before, and it's started to do it now. There's certain games that I'll play, and it tends to be more like shooters and horror games I've noticed it with. That when I'm shooting on a shooter game, my pad never used to vibrate as heavy when the gun was going off. It seems like the vibrations become stronger. And when I'm playing like a horror game like Resident Evil, when you get damaged and your health's down and things like that, the pad actually kind of vibrates to like a heartbeat.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, am I going fucking crazy? Because it's never done. I've never noticed it do that before. Or is it just something that I'm only now just picking up on?
Yeah,
I don't know, because it's been so long since I played these games.
I know that they've had a lot of updates to the PS.
Yeah, the PS4
the
it's had shitloads.
Yeah, so it could well be that they've added more feedback into it, because with DualSense,
I'm not saying it's DualSense. I'm just saying the difference with the pattern of vibration.
DualSense has a lot more motors in it to do the vibration.
Yeah,
exactly. You can feel it a lot more. So it's not just the sense on the triggers. You've got more vibrational haptic feedback.
Yeah.
And it could be that because games are working on both PS4 and PS5, they've gone, we'll boot up so that everything feeds back a bit more, you know? I'll have a look.
It could just be they're scaling up the controller's software. Because, controllers do have software in them now.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reset button on a pad for a reason. If a software issue occurs. So
there's frequently updates for the controllers on PS5 at least.
Exactly. So it's probably been an update that's just gone, well, these games use these feedback settings because they're on both consoles. So we'll just push the PS4 controller as much as we can. And
yeah, exactly.
They'll get a vibration. It won't be as good as the 5 controller, but there's still something. And like I said, it's just games that I've played before, gone back to, and I've noticed that Horizon Zero Dawn was actually the big one. Like it never used to vibrate or rumble when I was sliding. And then when I was doing my live streams of it, when I was doing the running and then sliding into cover, my pad would have a slight tremble. And I was like, you didn't do that before. And I've not changed my settings. So unless it's either an update to the game or an update to the actual PlayStation itself that's doing it.
I think it's an update to the PlayStation itself.
I'll get onto the PlayStation website and I'll have a look and see if there's any mention of something like that. But anyway, we are going to say goodnight now. It's 10 o'clock at night here in the UK. But I hope you've enjoyed us pair of geeks just waffling on for the better part of a fucking hour about absolute bollocks. But this was just an introduction episode. We just wanted to say hello. This is what we are. This is what we're going to be doing. The kind of subjects we're going to be covering. As you can tell, we've literally gone Star Wars, Moon Knight, Marvel, Disney, PlayStation controllers.
We've just gone geek.
We've literally covered, like, you know, that's why I named this show Hun Ya Geek is showing, because I say that quite often when I catch myself. I'm one of those people. I was at a party. I've got to tell the story before I go. Right, I was at a party, and my friend had a Alf teddy up on a bookcase. And my friend Tom, he sat there, he's had a bit, and he goes, oh, look, there's Alf. And me being that kind of bitch, I'm just there like, well, actually, Tom, I'll think you'll find his name is Gordon Shenway. And he was like, you fucking what? And I explained the whole story. I was like, Alf is actually an acronym, alien life form. His name wasn't actually Alf.
That's right.
His name from an anime. I went on a 20-minute rant about all this bullshit I knew about Alf.
Like diatribe.
Yeah, I was like, you know, I was like being the Alf fucking shaman, goddess, priestess bitch, like, oh, hell the Alf. You know, like proper on a soapbox about it. And then he proper just goes, all right, Hun Ya Geek showing, chill the fuck out. And that was where this came from. I was just like, Hun Ya Geek is showing. Because I hear that quite a lot, and I'm just like, perfect name for a fucking podcast. So
it is.
Here we go. But this show's going to be fortnightly for everybody who's watched this far into the show. I probably should have started with that. This show is going to be fortnightly. As we go along.
Edit that bit in at the beginning.
Pardon?
Hang on. I'll help you edit that bit in at the beginning. So this is the fortnightly podcast, is it?
Yeah.
And you can just, like, cut it, and that bit goes at the right. Remember, that bit goes at the start. Okay.
All right, we'll just wing it. I wing it around here. It's fine. If people have watched this far, I'm sure they're going to watch episode 2. Let's face it.
That's right.
Episode 2, Attack of the Loans. Oh, no, wait, that's just my credit card statement.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. That's just when we see the next house, probably.
Yeah, that's their next live stream, Attack of the Loans. But yeah, anyway, I have been Calista Valentine. He has been Simon
Spyk.
Or Spyk, as you prefer to call him. This has been Hun Ya Geek is showing, and we shall catch you in the next one. Mwah. Bye.
So, this is my collectible that is special to me. It's my Hagstrom custom shop, as used by the band Ghost on stage. This is the actual custom shop that they help design, and the actual model that they play on stage. You can get a cheaper one that's like for the fans as a collectible, which is about £700. This one's more than double that. But it's a professional quality musical instrument, so you get a lot of bang for your buck, shall we say. It's a nice musical instrument. I've had Gibsons, I've had Deans, Fenders, you name it. But unfortunately, I was partially paralysed a few years back, partially due to an illness, partially due to a car accident I was in. Somebody went into us while I was stationary, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I lost the ability to play. I'd lost all the use in my left hand and my left leg, which is why I can't walk anymore. And with a lot of physiotherapy, I've over a number of years, I've managed to sort of build myself back up, and I can play once again. Well, not like I used to. I've played professionally for 10 years, played in total for 26 years. Wow. And yeah, it was an achievement. That's why this one became so special to me. I sort of got my achievement in being able to make a couple of chord shapes again and whatnot, like actually strum something on the guitar. And so I bought myself this as a sort of treat. It came onto the market. They're quite hard to get hold of. You can get them on order, but you'll wait for them. At the time that I bought this, it was the only one available in the world, direct off the manufacturer. And yeah, it's a great metal guitar. It does great clean music. It does great rock music. It's a bit of everything. It's yeah, it's a great guitar. Like I say, it does a nice bit of rock as well, so you can get the sort of sounds, you know, and the it does great for an all-rounder. And so it's a nice collectible because it's specific to one band. I've got loads of stuff from Ghost, all the vinyls, the masks, the figures like Super 7 do, little like the Star Wars figures used to be, you know, they don't really bend all that much, but you've got like one bend at the waist and like the neck moves and that's it. They're awesome retro figures. And the glow in the dark. Yeah, I've got everything Ghost, and like the t-shirts. I'm quite the Ghost fan. You probably spotted that. But this is my baby for so many reasons. So, if ever anybody asks what my favourite collectible is, it's this. Like I say, it's something that I can pass on to my kids. It'll go up in value rather than down, at least eventually, as guitars do once they become classics. So I know that it's something that can be appreciated for a very long time, and I love it. It's my favourite collectible.
I am Optimus Prime. Autobots, transform and roll out!
What did he say his name was?
This is bad comedy.
It's Morphin time!
Mastodon!
Pterodactyl!
Triceratops!
Saber-tooth tiger!
Tyrannosaurus! Okay, Power Rangers, let's do it!
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.